Hello everyone, this is True Shares with Franca, where we share and read true life stories and occurrences. This one is from Dr. O on X.com. Let's get right into it. From time immemorial, everyone warns you about how once you marry, your mother in law becomes your number one enemy. Nobody told me that my father in law would be my biggest nightmare. In fact, the man is the devil's senior brother. For 2 years of my marriage, I used to thank God that my husband and I lived far away from his family. We lived in Port Harcourt while his parents were in Lagos, so naturally, there was a healthy distance between us. We visited occasionally, spoke on the phone, celebrated Christmas together, and everybody went back to their own houses before anybody had enough time to get on somebody else's last nerves. Then my husband got a job opportunity that required us to locate to Lagos. And when we moved to Lagos, my mother in law became my biggest supporter. Contrary to the warnings I had received before marriage, that woman practically adopted me. She treated me like her own daughter. If I was sick, she would call. If I was stressed, she would come over with food. And if my husband and I had any disagreement, she never took a side simply because he was her son. Sometimes she would actually tell him, "You are wrong. Go and apologize to your wife." My father in law was the complete opposite. He treated me like an enemy. If I cooked, he wouldn't eat. He complained about almost everything I did. At first, I thought I was imagining things, but after a while, I began to notice that he was deliberately cruel to me, and somehow, every time he insulted me, my husband was there. What I couldn't understand was that my husband seemed more afraid of upsetting his father than protecting his own wife. For the first time since I got married, I began wondering if moving to Lagos had been the biggest mistake of my life. I started paying closer attention, and the more I watched, the more I realized that my father in law's behavior towards me was not accidental, he was bullying me. The most annoying part of it all was that his second wife was enjoying every minute of it. My father in law's second wife was not much older than my husband. I'm not even exaggerating. The first time my husband introduced us, I was so confused that I thought maybe he had made a mistake. The woman was at least 30 years younger than my father in law. One day, my husband and I visited his parents again. I had worn a simple dress. It was nothing revealing or dramatic. His father looked at me from head to toe. Then he turned to my husband. "Is this how your wife dresses when she comes to see your parents?" My husband frowned. "Daddy, what is wrong with what she's wearing?" His father laughed. "Nothing." Then he looked at me. "Maybe she's dressing for somebody else." That one passed. Another day, they came to our house unexpectedly. I had just finished cooking. My father in law walked into the kitchen and opened the pot without my permission. He looked inside, then he turned around. "You cooked this?" "Yes, daddy." He shook his head. "What kind of wife cooks like this?" I was confused. "Is there something wrong with the food?" He called his second wife. "Come and see what my son's wife is feeding him." She came into the kitchen. She looked into the pot and laughed while I stood there holding the spoon. My husband was in the living room. He'd heard everything. He walked into the kitchen. "Daddy, why are you doing this?" His father looked at him. "Doing what?" "You are embarrassing my wife." His father hissed, "Embarrassing her?" Then he pointed at me. "If she cannot take correction, she shouldn't have married into this family." My husband went quiet. I couldn't believe it. I looked at him. "Are you going to say anything?" He sighed. "Let's just leave it." That night, I confronted him, but he kept insisting that his father's behavior didn't mean any harm, that it was his normal way of behaving. There was one particular incident that I will never forget. We had gone to their house for Father's Day. I had bought him an expensive gift and handed it to him personally. He looked at the gift and he didn't even open it. Instead, he asked, "How much did this cost?" I laughed nervously, then I told him. He laughed. With this kind of money, you couldn't buy something useful? He pushed the gift towards me. Take it. I was stunned. The man outrightly rejected my gift right in front of me. A few months later, my mother in law turned 60. It was a big celebration held at my father in law's house in Lagos. By 12 p.m., the house was already packed. Relatives were arriving from different parts of Lagos, family, friends were coming. There were caterers everywhere, decorators running around, children screaming, music blasting from the speakers. Later in the day, there were so many people that plates were disappearing faster than they could be washed. So I went into the kitchen to wash the dishes. I was standing by the sink washing plates when I heard footsteps behind me. I didn't turn around. I assumed it was one of the caterers. Then I felt someone come very close behind me. Before I could move, a hand briefly squeezed my bum. I turned around sharply. It was my father in law. He was standing there with a glass in his hand. He looked at me with the most innocent expression I'd ever seen. Why did you touch me? He laughed. Touch you? He looked around. Are you okay? You just touched me, I repeated. He raised both hands. I didn't touch you. Then he walked away. Nobody had seen it. It was just him and I in the kitchen. Everyone else was outside. I felt sick. I wanted to tell my husband immediately, but I changed my mind because what if he didn't believe me? What if his father denied it? What if the entire family turned against me? So I kept quiet. After that day, I began avoiding him as much as possible. I still didn't tell my husband because I was scared of what would happen if I spoke. And then came my father in law's 65th birthday. The whole family decided to lodge in a hotel for the weekend. There were relatives coming from different states and countries. The birthday celebration was going to be the following day. My husband was sitting beside me on the bed, scrolling through his phone when his father's call came in. Daddy wants me to help get some cartons of wine for tomorrow. Apparently, his friend has them at his house. I frowned. Tonight? Yes. He says the man is traveling early tomorrow morning. Should I come with you? He shook his head. No, stay here. It's late. He kissed my forehead and left. About 30 minutes later, I was alone in our hotel room. I had taken off my jewelry and changed into my night clothes and was sitting on the bed scrolling through my phone when there was a knock. I got up to check. It was my father in law. I opened the door slightly. Daddy, hope there's no problem. There is a problem, he replied. My heart immediately started beating faster than someone with low blood pressure. We need to talk. Let me come inside, my father in law said. I hesitated. Something told me not to open that door, but this was my father in law. Refusing to open it would be very disrespectful, so I opened it with a clear mind. He walked inside, then he turned around and closed the door. I immediately became uncomfortable. Daddy, what is this about? He did not answer. He simply stood there staring at me. Then he said quietly, You've been avoiding me. No, sir, I replied. He took a step towards me. I know what you're doing. I stepped backwards. What am I doing? He asked. He took another step. Are you afraid of me? I'm not afraid of you, sir. I replied. He smiled. Then come here. I didn't move. He came closer, much closer than any father in law should ever come to his son's wife. I immediately stepped back again. He reached for my arm and grabbed me. Let go of me, I shouted. Keep your voice down, young lady, he replied, pulling me closer. He pushed me on the bed and climbed on top of me and started fondling me. Almost immediately, there was a beep on the door from the card reader. Then my husband walked in, looking confused and shocked at the same time. What the hell is going on here? He asked. He had just witnessed a scene no husband should ever see between his father and his wife. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out. How could I possibly explain what had just happened without sounding like I was lying?